Well, one of the teams has secured their place in the playoffs tonight. The Chiefs go on through, currently in the top 3. But guys, you know who is in the top 2? It is, of course, Elevate and Knights, and it is the battle for top spot coming up very, very shortly. Dev, this is the match of the day in my eyes, and it should really well be the match of the day. I don't know what's going on with your shirt there, but let's go and have a look at Knights versus Elevate. This is surely, like, the best match of the season. I hope it will be.
That's it. This isn't just the match of the day, but this is the match of the whole stage. It is the number 1 and the number 2 team, but which is which we don't actually know yet because we haven't seen them play, not just this season, but ever. This is an Oceanic team in the Knights versus a Thailand team in Elevate. This is incredibly exciting, and it is turning a new leaf for APAC South as a region, and I could not be more excited. I really, really want to know whether OS or Thailand is the number 1 because they're going to play the best team in APAC North as well. And then we're going to crown the whole champion of APAC. And a Thailand team has never been the champion of APAC. And an Oceanic team, aside from Fnatic, neither.
Yeah, I'm going to dip my toes in a bit of caster math here. So this is a little bit risky. Put an asterisk next to this. But this game is actually for 60 SI points minimum. So hear me out, right? So both of these teams, or one of these teams, whichever one wins, will go to the stage champion playoff against the top team from North. At minimum, if you finish second in that, you get 390 SI points. If you finish first in the APAC playoffs, you only get 330. So straight away, if you just win this match, you're already guaranteed to get more SI points than you would if you had to go through the playoffs.
Thank you very much for the mathematical observations there, guys. I hope that and pray that they are correct. Let's go and look at the Knights lineup coming into this matchup. We're all pretty split on this matchup between Knights and Elevate and who's going to take it out. But Dev, Knights as a whole, they're the best team from OCE, so coming into this match, they got that sort of riding their coattails a little bit, but they should feel confident at going up against Elevate.
They should, but at the same time, if there is anyone that can put Knights' tear to an end, it would be Elevate. Now, these guys, the Knights, they have been the best team in OS. I think everyone agreed upon that. As soon as Wildcard lost Diesel, everyone looked at Knights and said, all right, guys, your turn to step up. But if you remember correctly, Knights actually beat Wildcard at full strength in the 2020 finals, which were back in Jan. And these guys have been on the rise. Last year, they have gone from being like a middle pack, Oceanic team to now being the undisputed number 1 in OS and potentially even number 1 in the entirety of APAC. And that is just such an exciting prospect for so many of these players who are relatively young to the scene. You look at people like Juicy Josh and Sage, and well, they're not new by any stretch of the imagination. They aren't like the old guard like Hayward, Dino, and some of these other players on these other teams. These guys are very much coming in and bringing their own fresh flavor, and it is so exciting.
Yeah, and fun fact, the Knights have actually never finished first in a regular season. Their best performance was first in the OS finals not too long ago, but in terms of a regular season, they've actually never finished first. They've always been in the shadow of another team. So this is their opportunity, I guess, to buck that trend and finish at the top.
Let's go look at their opponents for tonight. Elevate, of course, arguably the best team in the region. I think it should go without saying, although maybe tonight, guys, will actually change that tune a little bit. They, of course, led by Onigiri as a whole. This team, though, stacks up really well and at their best should be winning this matchup despite Knights' strengths.
Yeah, it's been such a great year for Elevate so far. Last year, they were never really a serious contender for the title of being one of the strongest teams in APAC, but they have switched that around so quickly. Their record has just been impeccable, and they have been looking forward to this matchup. I think it's been multiple interviews now where Onigiri himself, whenever we've asked, who do you think the strongest team is, who you're looking forward to playing, he has said the Knights day in, day out. So I'm sure that these guys are prepped and pumped and ready for this game.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. If there's any team that can knock Elevate off of their perch, it is the Knights. But Elevate are a team that will be incredibly challenging to go up against. And Elevate are just such a strong team. What's really exciting for them is, as you said, Guz, last year in APAC North, which Elevate partook in under the name Xavier, they were never the number 1. They were never even number 2. They were constantly fighting for 3rd place with Cyclops. And actually, come the 2020 finals, they did come 3rd. Finally, they finally beat Cyclops. Now, they couldn't break into the top 2, into Giants and Cloud9, but since then, they've taken down Giants. In fact, both of these teams have beaten Giants, and both of them, I think, have earned the right of being known as the best team in APAC South, there's only one obstacle left in their way, and that is each other.
I think a lot of teams have beaten Giants though this season, Dev, so I'm not sure if there's much of a accomplishment in that fact. That might seem like a bit of a burn, but they are last on the standings. We do have to take that into account. Let's go and look at the map though and see where these two teams are going to be heading for this very, very crucial best of all.
Digital is back!
We're heading to digital! We're heading to digital! Look, hopefully we can get the map this time. Digital would have been a very fun map to play on though, in all fairness. I feel like if there had to be a map that's personified by a player, it would be digital. I think it would almost resemblance a bit of like a theme park, Dev. But while we got a bit of time, maybe let's speculate a little bit as to where this match could go. And it'll give you guys a split second. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Guys, you're first.
Look, the difficult thing about APAC South this season has been that for a lot of these matchups, particularly cross-regionally between OC and C's, we just don't have any head-to-head history. So we don't know historically where these teams have liked to go. I'm sure Dev can probably bring up where these teams have liked to play personally throughout this season. But the one thing I really want to just preface this map veto with is how are these playstyles going to play against one another? The map, of course, facilitating that. The Knights, on one hand, love to be super calculated and super traditional Siege. Elevate, on the other hand, they play pretty crazy Siege.
There you go. It is Oregon where we head to, and what's super exciting to me is, you were asking me, Xenox, where do I think that these teams might take us to? And Clubhouse is definitely one of those maps that comes to mind. It is an insane map for both of these teams. Elevate are known for having a really aggressive Clubhouse on their defense, a very unusual one, very loose roams, and Knights are known for just being really, really methodical, but also have that spat of aggression. They never let their opponents rest. I think the fact that Elevate banned Clubhouse when it is arguably their best map is super telling of just how much they respect Knights. So instead, we go to Oregon, which is, of course, such a popular map in the current meta, and it's a really strong map for both of these teams, but Elevate have been banning it constantly. Their last 4 games in a row, they have banned out Oregon, and that really leaves Knights in a much more awkward position because the only game that they've seen the Elevate play on recently is their game last week against Seventh Heaven.
Yeah, and quickly, this is going to be the only time so far in APAC South League Stage 1 that Elevate are even touching this map. We have to go all the way back to Cyclops in SI Quals for the last time that Elevate even played this map. So it's a huge unknown. A lot has changed in the current meta on how Oregon has played out on a number of the objectives. And as I said, Elevate, they love to bring the heat, super aggressive playstyle, and the Knights are kind of just walking into this unknown mist, and it's got to be a little bit scary, let's be honest. Sure, you can say that, Elevate don't have a good track record here, but just throw that out the window. The Knights are going to be a little bit scared, I think. Yeah.
Well, before we get into the game, and as we sort of get our final closing thoughts here, both of you have gone for Elevate. Myself, and of course our two, actually no, it's just myself and Raven have actually gone for Knights. So Elevate the favorite team here, Devin, and haven't seen Oregon. Do you sense that's going to be capitalized even more so now based on the map we're going to?
I don't know. What I can tell you for damn sure is the fact that Elevate don't have a lot of VODs of them on this map, and what's more, because they have banned Oregon so much, I think Knights wouldn't necessarily expect it to go to Oregon. So it does throw off Knights a little bit, and it's about how can Knights think on their feet, how can they retain their composure. For Elevate, look, I think they're a very confident team, and I think that they have everything it takes to be number 1, but I know that they have been constantly looking at Knights as the team to beat. Is that the pressure that gets to them?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just quickly correct myself. Elevate did, of course, play this Tuesday against Seventh Heaven, so that was my bad, and it was a 7-4, so there is a little bit of form to go off. As I said, I think the heat is just going to be immense here. At the end of the day, Elevate, they have what it takes to keep the Knights on their toes, and honestly, it's going to be close, but they should just be able to edge out if the Knights can't adapt in time.
Well, I mean, I have to back in the Knights here. Like, in terms of my own sort of thoughts coming into this, you guys are heavily on the Elevate bandwagon train, whatever. Knights win this, and they stake their claim as the best team in APAC. Would you agree with that claim, Dev?
I think that you can't call yourself the best team in APAC until you beat the number 1 team from APAC North, which is presumably going to be Cloud9. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, whoever wins this is undoubtedly the best team in APAC South. No questions asked. Like that is not even a question that we need to ask. The only teams relatively like competitive for the title of best in APAC South are the two playing right now, and whoever wins takes that title cut and dried.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not even the title. If you don't win this game and make it to the stage champions match, there's no guarantee you get SI points. If you enter the playoffs, have a really bad couple of days and bomb out, well, 0 points, see you later, you go home empty-handed. If you at least win this and go to the stage champs, you at least make some points, even if you lose. So, yeah. I mean, that alone just increases the stakes of this game even more.
Exactly right, as always, guys, except for when you were wrong a minute ago with that matchup. Oh, yeah. That's okay. I love you very much. You're my favorite co-caster. But speaking of co-casters, we've got two waiting in the wings. It's Mr. Australia and it's Raven.
Ah, goodness me. Well, g'day, it's Thursday. Unfortunately, only Australians will get that one. But we are in for a ride, Raven. This is predicted to be the game and the map of the entire season. Would you echo those statements?
It's hard not to. I mean, when you talk about the fact that these two teams are now competing to be the stage champions, that is, I mean, it's hard not to feel that way, right? They have really been building to be the best in APAC South, and we get to find that out right now for stage one.
We certainly do. We head to Oregon to decide it as well. We have only just seen Elevate play it against Seventh Heaven, and it was a close... No, it wasn't really a close affair. I was going to say it was a closely contested game, but it wasn't even a closely contested game because they took Seventh Heaven down in what was, I would say, a dominant 7-4 victory. And I mean, Knights are no slouches, so we do need to move forth here. But the Finker band to come in first and foremost. Was that who we saw? Was that the Elevate pick, was it? Who we saw, sorry, was that who we saw playing the Finker on Tuesday night? Was that Elevate? Because I felt like those basement attacks were so dangerous every time we heard that adrenaline boost come in.
Yeah, no, look, Elevator, definitely known for their Finker plays all through a lot of last year as well in APAC North. So the Knights deciding that maybe is the crutch that they want to target, take it off. It's a pretty big ban because you could really argue maybe it's not that big an impact in general because Finker really doesn't get much play. But yeah, it's not the case with Elevate. They do play Finker. So we'll see whether that does really assist them or not. And then rounding out the rest of these bans, all pretty standard for Oregon these days, especially Wilmai and Mirror. I just want to quickly touch that Wilmai ban in particular will make the hold of Elbow down in Bunker a lot trickier because you just have to rely on Jaeger's ADSs.
And I guess I don't think you can afford not to at least show face there. But so far, we haven't seen that Jaeger pick. And in doing so, surely it's the Aruni. No. Whoa. Okay. So there's no projectile denial. I mean, I'm super curious if Knights extend, which I just can't imagine their basement hold without that extension, especially when we see the smoke. Are they just relying on the smoke to waste time?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I really could be that. It seems like they really wanted to bring in the Legion in particular. So they wanted to slow down with the Mutant Mozzie, that intel collection for Elevate, just to stop them being able to act on early info and get aggressive. And then it feels like they also really wanted to bring in the Malusi and Legion, again, to slow down some aggressive pushes from Elevate. So yeah, it's at the detriment of additional wall denial. I mean, they can still use the mute, but given that they're bringing mute and Mozzie, I feel like that's info denial more than wall denial.
Yeah. Good to see, to be honest. I do like the change. It's just been all too common. We are seeing the hold extended up, like you were alluding to. You know, we've got a lot of that intel from Josh. We've got the intel denial, so they will be able to waste a lot of time. Elevator wasting no time whatsoever. What is this from Elevate? What are they about to throw at the Knights? Are the Knights prepared for it? That was so close. Sage has been able to find one. Oh, the Knights absolutely take Elevate apart. as if it were roast beef in a slow cooker, Raven. My God.
What, just falling off the bone is what you're trying to say, Matic?
Oh, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, Onigiri. Now, he's no stranger to being able to do some crazy things, but that he won't do. Hayward's going to close that out. Big round from the Knights. And gotta say, the goal from Elevate, I wonder whether that was trying to be a bit of like an alpha move. Like, hey guys, let's get super aggressive and rush. The Knights won't be ready. We'll put them in the back foot. We'll get their mentals in the bin at the start of the game. It'll be great. But it didn't work out. And also, I actually think that's not going to work out because you have to remember, like, the Knights are a very studious team. They would have studied Elevate pretty extensively coming into this. And if you're preparing for Elevate, number one thing in my mind would be prepared for aggression always.
Oh, man. I mean, I always expect Elevate to be, doing some pretty crazy things, but that was absolutely wild. I wonder, you say, you're mentioning Knights and what they what they're really like. We know them to. I mean, they have the support staff, right, to support them in doing a lot of that kind of prep, but that hold just worked so damn well. It was almost as if that was crafted specifically for that push. They didn't have that elbow extension. They held back. They waited for the players to push in. I know that the meeting hold is probably more of the play style that they're going for there, but at the end of the day, that couldn't have worked out much better for the Knights. The smoke was further back in Laundry. My goodness. I guess when it rains, it pours. And right now, it may be storming, but how long will that cloud stay over Elevate? That's the real question. Will it be a fast-passing weather condition, or will it be something that sticks around for a moment longer? We'll wait and see, Raven, but so far, that is an ambitious start.
Yeah, well, while you're looking for potentially a career in the Bureau of Meteorology there, Manic, Elevator looking to bounce back. And now I couldn't help but notice that Hayward was getting some pretty aggressive cams over on this west side to keep an eye on this potential push. And also maybe, I didn't quite see if he got one outside, but maybe he's trying to get info on the double window. But regardless, I did see one at the bottom of White Stairs. Pretty key camera, honestly. I know Elevate in particular, they love a late push up the White Stairs and try and get that flank happening. Again, it just really feels like the Knights have so far prepared for the moves that Elevate want to do. And look at that, Onigiri goes through that window, gets lit up. He's already lost half HP here.
Oh, and look how close the other player is as well. What a swing from Juicy. Wow, this is like a book, open and shut. They're already on page 12 here for the Knights. They are looking so dangerous and seem to have Elevate's number picked at every which turn. This is not the tale we thought we'd be telling so early on here, but it is something that the Knights are prepared for. There is no doubt about it. And now the questions lie heavily on Elevate. How do they adapt? How do they work forth from here?
Yeah, I think that's the big deal. How do Elevate bounce back from this? Because the Knights are just constantly stepping up. Now a 2-man advantage in the favor of the Knights, and 2 minutes burned off in this attack. And so much of it has just been a first floor west clear. Not much pressure in from Master or Attic, at least from what we could see. And it's just about the Knights just continuing to hold these positions. Hayward continuing to be a pest down in the server room here. Surrounded, could drop back.
Not only that, that's 3 drones thrown at him, and he's been able to get away as well. Sage holds the bait. My God, they are getting dismantled right now. However, Sapper and DCH stand between Knights and a very clean round, all things considered.
Yeah, and the Knights just doubling down this aggression. Hayward has rotated down the White Stairs, leaves it on Sapper, and Dino swings to take him out. That's the Knights booking in their second round. And they are looking switched on, Manic.
I mean, outside of the util, the Valkyrie cams, like how much was really playing effect? I didn't hear a single Banshee go off. It was just such an interesting round to see from the Knights again. bit by bit chipping away at the armor of Elevate, consistently keeping them on their toes. Juicy went for another swing down at the bottom of white after finding Onigiri so early in the round. I am really, really impressed with what we've seen so far. You just don't want to really lean into this too much because it's Elevate, right? They are and have been the single most consistent team. I know Knights have won 5 games, Elevate have won 5 games, but Elevate's wins have all been in regular time. They've been able to close out in those big moments, in the clutch moments. They have stood strong. So, at any which point, this could really turn on its head. You have to sing the praises for Knights, though.
Yeah, I think you do. On top of that, I'm just looking back at their match against Q-Confirm. Potentially a comparable playstyle to Elevate. And the Knights were flawless on their defenses. They only got to play 3 because they ended up closing it out on that because it was the second half. But they did not lose their defenses, and they excelled in their attacks. So if I'm Elevate, this is a pretty scary position. Knights seem to be switched on with their Oregon attacks. So if Elevate can't make an impact on the scoreboard here, it's going to be a really dangerous position at the half swap.
And it is. And now, how do we bounce back from here? I know that Elevate are that kind of team that can, but surely if they're unable to continue to put the pressure on the Knights, if Knights are going to move forth in this fashion, it will become extremely awkward. It looks like they don't have the information that they needed there. You could see Angry pulling back and watching ever so closely, making sure there was not a flank coming up from the basement. And right now, going to town on the wall. They still haven't found that mute jammer yet, and there it goes.
Take a bit of time, so lots of pressure onto Josh right now. He's the only one that's sandwiched in the corner on site. The Knights otherwise spread out, and Elevate hard focusing on taking this big tower and added control. Now Sage can still contest from the other side. There are 2 Elevate players perched in that position. Dino's going to be the opening death. Now this is a much better start from Elevate. It has taken 90 seconds to find it, but they are in a good position right now.
Indeed they are. You'd have to imagine from here they will close this. And, I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but unfortunately, Josh had shot... I mean, he's dead. It doesn't make a difference now. He had shot an ADS off the wall beside him, and it hadn't have used any of its charges. So, either of its charges, I should say. For now, Elevate are just so methodical, Raven. They are taking their time in clearing everything that the Knights have.
They are. Time will start to get away from them, though, 45 seconds. I mean, it's good that they're not progressing too far, and that's another big pick. It's going to be a very hard task for these last 2 Knights players. In fact, it's all on Juicy's shoulders. And that's it. Fourth round for Elevate.
I mean, that's exactly what we've been prefacing, Raven. First 2 rounds have been phenomenal from Knights, but yeah, you just never for a second count out Elevate because they bounce back, and boy, do they hit hard when they come back. Now, we are going to go back down to that laundry defense. I guess one thing we do need to say very quickly about that round, Raven, is it was meeting... I think we've seen it played a lot more in APAC South recently than I've seen played before in the Oceanic region, but it's certainly that third site, the tertiary site, it's kind of a bit hit and miss at most times. Regardless, though, it is a much-needed round from Elevate, and in the form and fashion that they were able to achieve that, certainly going to be dangerous.
To locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Definitely agree. Being said, it was the third tertiary bomb site for Knights. So, I mean, if they're to go through the rest of this half, only losing kitchen meeting, that's still 4-2 half, very comfortable position. But regardless, I think the form in general displayed from Elevate on that round was promising because those first 2 rounds looked like they were just a bit lost and maybe starting cold. I guess that's the beauty though. Only 2 rounds. Siege, you can bring that back pretty comfortably. And a round win here would equalize things. It's like a fresh start.
5 seconds left before insertion. Attackers must locate and defuse the bomb.
I would say it's a much needed fresh start. And here we go. The very different hold to what we saw from the Knights in the previous round. Obviously, Elevate bringing a completely different lineup as well. I wouldn't say completely different, just a slightly different lineup. But we are seeing that blue extension as per. Now, without those Wamai magnets, because, of course, Wamai is banned, it is going to make Juicy's job incredibly difficult. There are 2 ADSs perched just on the other side of the shield there with a Banshee. Now, I would say because of the position of the Banshee, it's actually going to make it a little bit harder should Elevate decide to really flush the utility in. It's going to be harder for Juicy to hold, I should be saying. Regardless, though, as we now start to prepare for what Elevate decide to do, they have pushed everyone mostly back to site. It looks like Josh is still hanging around the stairs of Freezer. But for now, they have taken the control that they needed on that second floor.
Yeah, the Knights opting for quite the heavy turtle. In fact, everybody is on site. Hayward's the one that's the furthest off, and he's creeping up to top of tower stairs. Now, this could be very dangerous for Elevate. They've either pre-droned this. There may still be a preset drone there they can check. But given the distance into the round, they may not be checking it. That all being said, though, right now they're really stacking up for a potential Freezer laundry push. They may not even go near those rear stairs.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? It's, you know... I mean, at least it alleviates the pressure on Pillar completely from the Knights because they know fully that Hayward has that position at any point in time. They can go across and support, so they can put their emphasis on Laundry, on Freezer, and on Blue. But that's still, it still spreads you incredibly thin. It still keeps you with only 4 players to watch 3 different choke points. And the way Elevate are methodically taking this as Napier progresses further, it's looking pretty good for space and for time to work with.
45 seconds. This is where it starts to get dangerous for Elevate because time is going to be really working against them. And the Knights are just not giving them an inch right now. And that's what Elevate would be looking for, is just this opening pick, something to give them that go signal that we see them feed off time and time again to close out these rounds. It's going to start to get very squishy.
Yeah, the issue is they haven't pushed back Blue either, so they now know the Banshee's still there. The alarm bells will ring well before Elevate push in, so they've just got to make sure that they hold the choke point of Laundry and Freezer. It is now Elevate pushing in quite deep. Angry looking to get aggressive, take the first point of contact with Sage playing so close. The Knights completely dismiss what they're trying to achieve. DCH and Angry! My goodness, the diffuser not in their hands, but it didn't make a difference. The Knights were well in control of that final phase execute.
They were, and I'm just so glad that you mentioned that, Manic, because that was the biggest thing I noticed, is the Knights just did not move in that execute. They really just held their ground, and they waited for Elevate to have to aggress through. And it worked out so well, because as Elevate were hunting and hunting to try and figure out where these site players were, you saw the Knights, they got the first 2 opening picks of that execute. And that was enough. That allowed them to hold on and ride that timer out. Elevate trying to prioritize picks, but the Knights just, again, not giving them a single inch in that regard.
I think it's a really good sign for Knights that they've been able to take that so confidently. And you do wonder if Elevate had to put a little bit of pressure toward rear stage, even just showing presence on Pillar. Maybe Hayward wouldn't have been able to progress so far and kind of gain that room back for Knights to then double down on the other side of the map. Maybe if they'd put some emphasis on Blue, not even necessarily flushing the smoke completely out of position there, but rather making Knights a little bit more uncomfortable. The attention would have been spread so thinly. And that is a really nice drone that's going to spot out some great intel that Knights would have been able to grab early on. But now we are going back to dorms, and The issue for Elevate here is how strong Knights performed on this map, and I think Napier's just spotted that secondary Valk cam, so there we go. Bada bim, bada boom.
Yeah, two very valuable cams that the Knights is going to get no chance to use. That one that you saw in the master bedroom, it's going to be good for C4s in classroom or just understanding what's happening with the breach in towards master. So if they're going to be able to deny that cam early, really effective. And there it is, it's gone. So two Valkyrie cams in the first 30 seconds, gone. It's really good stuff from Elevate catching this early.
And on that note as well, I mean, that's the first drone that Elevate have lost, and think about how much intel they've been able to gain off the back of that. So they have so much more to go. Barbed wire goes down. I really like this from Juicy. Unfortunately, he does get droned out, and Onigiri decides to move on. This may be the clear of those mute jammers underneath, but he's not going to do it just yet. Juicy just narrowly missing the timing there.
He really did. Onigiri didn't even check it, I don't think, so that would have been huge. And now Sapper has caught Juicy off guard on the rappel peak, and this is going to be Elevate's chance. First 90 seconds, they're going to be opening up the wall into games. It's going to give them a really great opportunity. Still could be impact trick, but I don't think there's a Knights player that's going to be in position to do so. And no, that wall is open. That is crouchable as well. So really good stuff from Elevate again. They've got some really great progress happening here in the first half of this round.
Yeah, really happy with what they've achieved. I mean, I love it wasn't necessarily a bait from Onigiri, but it certainly allowed Sapper to find that free kill of Juicy swinging to try and stop that Ash charge from blowing up the mute device that obviously, you know, it stops any thought of progress on that game's wall. And now Elevate are in a great position. They've got Addict open. They've got Games open. They're putting pressure on site. Oh, and I love this. Napier going to be pushing in on the back of disabling the Banshee. Oh, Knights, they have been well and truly caught off guard here. Both players off site to retake Raven.
Going to be a tough retake from White. I thought they were both going to come up, but Hayward's rotating around. Sage gets through. That was a pretty gnarly shot onto Napier, but Angry X is going to finish off Sage. Now Hayward is in a very big 1v3 here. Great pre-fire on DCH. This could be on. He knows that one of them... I can hear pings happening in dorms. He seems very much aware. This is the positions. He almost hits the shot, but Elevate off the back of a fantastic opening phase of that attack. I found another round. This is starting to be very tight, Manic.
I honestly thought that Elevate were just going to continue to squeeze Knights out of position and just pick them off one by one. But Napier just initiates everything there. I mean, the game's push comes in. Napier goes deep on the F2, finds finds the big kill of the anchor on site. And what I think I like most about the end piece there is how Elevator set up with two players in kids, both being able to swing when that contact comes in. So as we move forward now, that is kind of a taste of their own medicine for Knights after having such a clinical round in their first defensive attempt on Dorms. Now get a little bit of salt in the wounds, a little bit of payback, and we move on now as we are re-attempting the same site.
Yeah, on top of that, I just saw Hayward throw the exact same Valkyrie camera in Master. Sapper's got the drone there already. That's going to get caught. So, again, these Valkyrie cameras are getting nullified very early. And a potential issue with that info, I mean, it could have maybe prevented the quicker push. They'd seemed very unaware that Elevate were in such a position where they could go. But it's hard to say. I'm really keen to see what the Knights can do to adapt to this, because that was definitely the best round from Elevate that we've seen. They just looked very strong, and it was very methodical from them.
Even after their flawless round in round 3?
I mean...
Because I would actually say yeah.
Mainly just because round 3 was kitchen meeting, and the fact that Knights haven't gone back to their... It's kind of like, oh, they acknowledge that is their weakest side. Sure, Elevate definitely picked them to pieces, but to pick them to pieces on Dorms, and to have done so in the first 90 seconds and just execute on an opening like that, I feel like that shows more strength from Elevate, and that's something that Elevate could probably ride off more than that round 3 win.
Yep. Fair point. Haywood, though, finding the opening pick onto Angry, of all people. That was the Maverick that opened up into Attic. And look, the push never came from Attic, but it certainly helped push back the player in pit last round. So not having that pressure on the northern side of the map may well allow Knights to double down a little bit more. Still 2 hard breaches on the board, though, and with Onigiri taking down Juicy, another big player for Knights. Maybe looking a little bit closer now. That is an excellent pinch, Raven.
It is a beautiful pinch. And just like that. Oh, no, I'm not going to say it. It's going to be a 3v3. And we're going to see last 90 seconds dictate this round. Now, again, they're having some good progress made here on Master. Going to get some level of access. But got Hayward still lurking below. On top of that, he does still have a C4. Now, if they do have enough info, this could be really big for him.
DCH seems to understand the push and understand the pressure that Haywood was trying to apply there, but pre-prepped rotates allows Haywood to move around freely, and it makes him ever elusive. I really like this from Elevate. If they do or don't know, I'm going to assume they know. I really enjoy the fact that they're just completely negating that and ignoring that roam for now. However, it may come back to bite them. That's the problem. It's always a double-edged sword, Raven.
It is. And now DCH looks concerned about it. It makes me wonder whether they actually have a flank drone or whether he's just going to constantly be just double-checking whether that's coming through. Hayward really could be the X factor on this round. Elevate looking poised to go right now. They're just a little held back by something. Maybe it is this Hayward. It is Hayward play. They've still got Napu dedicated down here for this.
Okay, Sapper now going for the stick in games. It's a common plant spot. Is the C4 going to come out in time? No. Huge from Napu to deny it, and Sapper finds Josh Sage in a one-on-one. He does have the diffuser in hand. He is going to be sticking this. Napu coming around the corner. Sage got off it in time, but Napu wins the fight out at the very last second. And Elevate tie things up 3-3.
A very close round. I felt like that was such a fitting round for what ended up being a very close half. I felt like Sage had a window of opportunity where maybe he could have stuck that, but he just... it looks like he was hesitating a little bit. Maybe they weren't 100% sure where Napu was. But well played from Elevate. They were worried about the Hayward flank. They dedicated Napu downstairs to watch that player in particular. And they just backed it in. They were like, all right, let's go for the plant, cover from Trophy, and see how it goes. And they got it down. And that was really what saved them, because the Knights ended up getting both those players up on that top floor as soon as that plant went down.
Yeah.
Without getting that confirmed, it would have been a Knights round for sure.
Okay, Siege. The game of two tales. The game of two halves. This is where the storyline completes itself, Raven. 7 Playdays in its inaugural season of APAC South. Both of these teams deserved of top place. Only one will come out as the victor. And, I mean, this is the game for it. This is the moment for it. Knights do have to win this cleanly, though. And I'm sure there will be a lot of questions asked. And by the way, let me just quickly preface that. Knights have to win cleanly because if it goes to overtime, Elevate will take a point and it will all be done. So this is really crucial that we see the Australian team lock in and double down on what they've achieved so far.
In the context of this map as well, it feels like a similar story to what we had with Order Chiefs. It feels like whoever's going to excel in their attacks is probably going to take this map now. Oh, okay. Onigiri just running in an open window. It's going to die out to Sage. Good start for the Knights. But what I was going to say is, looking back at Elevate versus 7th Heaven, which was just the other day, Elevate went 3-3 in the first half, and that was on their attacks. They then managed to win 4 defenses, only dropping 1 to win that game 7-4. So they are clearly more comfortable, proficient on defense. You can include that at least. But maybe that just comes down to 7H not being as competent as the Knights maybe on attack. So if the Knights can step it up on attack here, this could be a lot closer, but it feels a bit scary for the Knights right now, just looking at that past match history.
Yes. And it's always, I mean, okay, it's always hard to pitch team versus team in play styles and ability and things like that, but especially in APAC South, it's been impossible to predict nearly anything. It has literally been one of the craziest tales of a season that I've ever been a part of. So it looks like Knights are making somewhat good time at the moment. Minute 20 left on the board. Hatch is starting to open up. An avenue starting to open up on that as well. No pressure in blue, though.
Still, Elevate just not overextending, which is good because the Knights did get that early advantage. Now, they're only just looking to take elbow. It's not being held at all, but Angry X is just waiting over at that Brick's doorway to peek out. Looks like most of the push, though, is going to be around this Freezer laundry pinch.
Okay, there's no drones. Oh, huge C4 from Napew. The point of drones goes out the window when you hit C4s, but Knights are going in dry. No information whatsoever. Elevate can turtle here. They have to dry peek. They have to go around the corner. Don't give Dino the openings, though. Napew decides not to. And that is a close round, but one that Elevate will be happy to take away. It is the first round of the second half.
Yeah, it was close. Was a good showing from the Knights on their first attack, but Elevate really held that one strongly. Great job. And that's going to put them out into a lead. So pressure starting to mount on the Knights here. As you said, they want to win this in regulation. Get a clear win, clean win. Now, Elevate are 2 rounds away from stopping that from happening. So this is a big moment for the Knights.
Now, one thing that we've seen a lot of is the tactical pauses Raven coming into this season. And I actually think we've seen quite a few to successful avail, which right now we are currently in a Knights tactical timeout. We see the Ying being swapped onto, so they may well be initiating a different strat to what they had thought previously. And I do just want to very quickly talk about that drone economy then from Knights, because before the prep phase had finished, Onigiri had found 3 drones. At a minute 30, there was only 1 drone left. And at 50 seconds, there were no drones. There was 0 chance of being able to foresee what the hold of Elevate was. And I mean, look, Knights actually did a pretty decent effort of trading out and found themselves in a 2-on-2 situation to which Napew just shut the front door on them. But at the end of the day, did that lack of intel really hinder the Knights? And will it continue? It's a theme that we're definitely going to keep track of.
Look, I definitely feel like it could have, because the Knights are a pretty structured team, and certainly if they've got info, it's comfortable for any team, but that's where they really thrive. Is if they've got the info, they can make some really good decisions, and they can punish you for certain positions. They just didn't have that. It just comes down to face checking, and against a team like Elevate, who are mechanically gifted to say the least, it's really going to be hard to just try and be taking heads-up gunfights, especially pushing down crowded hallways that you get in Freezer and that double door in Laundry. You know, very funnily points.
Yeah.
So I'm not too surprised that Elevate did come out on top there. But
Yeah.
look, it's only the first round for the half. The Knights have got a chance to bring it back, but they really don't want to let this slip away too much.
Our wonderful resident caster and analyst and apparently host now, Dev Mata, has spotted the shotgun on Onigiri and Sapper. That is the Bandit and Pulse. I mean, Pulse maybe not as crazy to see the shotgun being used, obviously not as common, but definitely I think this may be one of the first times I've seen a Bandit with the shotgun in favor of the cheeky SMG. So I should say MP7, but bang. we move forward now. And Knights are definitely going to need to be cautious of the intel that Sapper's going to gain here, but that's that's some poor timing from Sapper. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Oh, but he's winning the fight. Josh is down to just above 25 HP. And in fact, Sapper managed to get away alive. Now look, yeah, he did lose 45 HP out of that, but I think it's more significant what he's done to Josh here. And he's been able to slip away and now start to collect more info. This is a lot about the info game here for Elevate.
I love hearing the pings and I love hearing the ripping of C4s because it definitely alludes to a lot of intel being gained. I mean, that's a very tricky position to be in. Sapper, obviously, being across there, could have been able to give some information, and I'm assuming that's where it's coming from. They have spotted him out on the drone. Once again, you know, a minute left, 5 drones left. It's not that bad at the moment, Raven, but Knights are definitely going to need to get a move on now because Onigiri is tricking.
Yeah, and I think he's going to get these X-Cargos. He is. And now I feel like I see the value of this shotgun. If somebody is to go below and contest through those rafters, I would back the M870 to get a pretty heavy shot onto that player. I feel like it'd be more comfortable than the MP7 for sure. And he gets aggressive. There it is. The distance on that gun with the laser sight is fantastic. And Elevate are getting faces of Knights right now.
Wow, that is monstrous. However, okay, a 2 versus 3 with little time left. Hayward with sight control. They are separated. Napew is the one that stands in between them as Juicy pushes in a little bit further. It's actually Hayward to find the kill on Onigiri on a lick of HP. He just makes it around the corner. What a clutch in a 1 versus 2. They funnel into Trophy and they're met with the shotgun of Bandit.
I just saw a drone where Hayward died. Not sure which way it was facing. Didn't see a light on it though. And I swear if that was facing Onigiri, I would be tilted if I was Hayward because they could have said prone. But regardless, what a great clutch from Onigiri. And that shotgun proved so effective. He got a 3K with it. It enabled that clutch to be so much more successful, honestly. Instead of taking just a heads-up gunfight with the MP7 being about rate of fire, he could play that little peek game around the doorframe. And the fact that Diffuser was dropped in that exact position was just perfect for him to play off.
I'm so glad we talked about that then, Raven. I'm so glad we talked about the shotgun and we made it a quick little talking point. Dev Marta, thank you for pointing that out and allowing us to dissect before what was the bloodbath in Trophy. And I mean, that just all round from Onigiri was so good. The Bandit trick onto the X-Kairos to deny the game rotate, or at least the game murder hole. And then the clutch to finish with after being able to take down the one member that was in Trophy prior. This is just turning out to be really a sensational match, Raven. And Elevate are currently looking the better of the two. That Knights are well and truly still in this. Both rounds so far this half have come down to a 2v2.
They have been close rounds, but it just feels like the Knights, they don't quite have it there yet to be able to bring this back. It's 4 rounds in a row for Elevate.
Oh,
it was 3-1.
No way. No way.
Very Aces-esque with the shotgun out the window. He gets away beautifully, Mannequin. This is a real danger zone right now for the Knights.
Oh, Knights just don't seem to be able to get a hold on this aggression that Elevator throwing at them. Sapper, how on earth can you predict that? Catching him out on his drone. Dino completely unaware. And I mean, Knights are scrambling right now to try and find this trade. Onigiri is not the player you want to be stepping into. As well as that, it is one of only 2 hard breaches, and the other is Maverick, but Hayward, once again, it's Hayward stepping up to give Knights an opportunity back into the rounds.
Bomb located by attackers.
Yeah, it's been good to see him step up. And now you just reminded me of something I was going to mention earlier. I'm going to highlight Josh. He's going 1-7 at the moment. Now, he is actually the highest rated player on the Knights roster. Now, they are pretty close together with their ratings, but regardless, it shows his impact. And he's just really failing to do so in this match. And I feel like that's one thing that is potentially hurting them. They are a team that thrives when all their players are being effective, as most teams would. But you know what I mean? And Josh has generally been somebody that's very consistent. So to see him struggling is, yeah, it's quite a shock.
A bomb has been located.
Preface for this round, Raven, this is absolutely huge. Elevate are currently on their final point needed to secure first place. They only need to push this to overtime, sorry. They only need 6 rounds. And Knights, it remains with everything. They are the only team in their way, and they're the only team versing them right now. The only other team in the server. And as 50 seconds starts to fade away, so too do the Knights' dream of holding the APAC South Champions title. Napew starting to devour them on Akiri, dropping 2 players as quick as you like. Hayward now needs to step up, but Elevate have done it, Raven. They have secured top place in APAC South, and now all that is left to do is put the nail in the coffin and defeat Knights cleanly.
It's all right, Manic Elevate. They are now considered the champions of APAC South. But the match isn't over. It's kind of just a bit of consolation at this stage. But 3 rounds. Let's come back to the micro of the game. That is the 5th round in a row for Elevate. The Knights have gone absolutely missing since round 4. They just have not seemed to have had an answer. They looked pretty lost on that attack. They got some progress on the wall, but just the early jump out, I felt like it really rattled them. On top of the fact they're now going to be pretty aware that their chances have slipped by, I imagine. And Elevate running on absolute adrenaline right now. I think this is going to be over very soon.
Attackers need to
I don't think anyone can disagree or can argue with that, Raven. Knights have really... I mean, okay, let's just talk from an OS caster's perspective. Knights have definitely done Australia proud, Australian Siege proud in this inaugural season, or inaugural stage of the inaugural season of APAC South. No doubt about it. But Elevate are just on a different level. They are another beast altogether. And in all honesty, they have dominated like no team I've seen in this region. And by this region, I mean Oceania. Definitely not APAC. You can't discount what Giants were able to achieve last season either. But my goodness. Elevate stepping into incredible form here in 2021.
Yeah, Elevate really doing Thai Siege proud. And look, they were already rising to some form last year. And they've really just continued that rise and some dominance in APAC South. Now's their chance to lock it out. Sage is going to progress aggressively down Freeze's stairs with this Nook. And the Elevate players seemed to where they all kind of just ran away, not trying to peek it, not give it away too early. And that's the thing, is you don't really want to lose this game at the end of the day. Even though they'll go through and still be stage champions, you still want to get that dub. You don't want to throw this away.
Sapper is going to be such an annoyance here for Knights. Elevate haven't brought the smoke, and I mean, swap out the smoke for the clash, and you're going to have a bad time. So I really just foresee Knights stalling in so many parts here. Hey, this is a PG broadcast.
Not with you on it, mate. Jeez.
Oh, get off it. Sapper now toying with Knights. Elevate are well and truly on their way now.
Yeah, it feels like it. They're really struggling to deal with Sapper. Hayward's lost 50 HP to this clash right now. That's absolutely crazy. And the Knights have not been able to make this progress that they're looking for. And one thing I was theorizing, actually, just quickly pivoting, I was looking at the bans, and to see the Yana ban again, we do know it's something the Knights were leaning on a lot. We've noted that their drone economy hasn't been too crash hot, and maybe that just shows that they have relied a lot on the Yana for info.
Oh no. Well, whatever they've relied on, it is certainly been ripped away from them here. Elevate, not only on map point, but they are doing it in style. It is now a 3 versus 3. Have Knights done enough? Dino looks to come in from behind, but he'll be shut down by the shotgun of Onigiri. Juice is going to be stuck here, and Raven, this is one for the books.
Feels that way. Angry X is going to start to drive that home. It's all on Juicy's shoulders to save something for the Knights here, but Elevate, they monster it. Onigiri closes it. Elevate are your Stage 1 APAC South champions.
Confidently so. They have proven themselves through the trials. And I should say trial by fire. What a season they have had. To cap it off with a win against the Knights so cleanly only does that more pleasure. My word, we are now well and truly on our way to closing out Playday 7. We're only on the first half of it, so you want to strap yourselves in. Ah, Raven. Whew.
That was a spicy game. Yeah, look, Elevate, just rightfully so, they stood up when it counted. Now, I want to go back to something that we did talk about at the half break, and we're looking back at the history of 7th Heaven versus Elevate on Oregon just the other night, and it was a 3-3 half that ultimately ended up being a 7-4 victory to Elevate. Tonight, 3-3 half ended up being a 7-3 victory to Elevate. I tell you what, taking them to Oregon, you better be ready for their defenses, because they are standing up in their defense halves.
They are hot and heavy, and so they have been since the start of this season. Great to see them continue in fine form. I know 3 people who will be eager to talk about what has just unfolded in front of us. Xenox, please dissect away.
Yes, well, firstly, congratulations to Elevate, champions of APAC South. They move on to stage champions where, yes, clap away, Tev. Clap, clap, clap. They are, of course, going to be awaiting their opponent from APAC North. But, guys, emphatic victory in the end. Dev, I very much thought the Knights were going to be able to put up more of an effort. That's why I tipped them. And I'm definitely a sad boy over here because Guz is going to beat me in the predictions. But full credit to Elevate in the way that they played in this matchup on Oregon.
And how did they play? They played exactly how we thought they would play. They played like Elevate, right? Now, round number 1, they rush with Blitz. Like, they don't have Finker, that's been banned against them, but they still do a Blitz rush. We saw that round where we had Bandit Shotgun on Onigiri. He got a 3K with that thing. Insane. And the first kill was actually onto the Diffuser, at which point he retook Master and camped it out into the late round. We saw Clash, and we even saw the fabled Aces Fnatic jump out from Armory window with Pulse Shotgun, which just is the kind of, you know, I'm trying to think of a PC word that I can use. It's the kind of just inappropriate behavior that you come to expect from Elevate, that unorthodox playstyle, that insane, weird aggression, and it's what we know them for, and it worked so well against Knights.
And we heard multiple times throughout the season from Onigiri himself that they thought that the Knights were a challenging opponent, an opponent to be feared, but they played this match fearlessly. They didn't make any compromises with their playstyle, the only one probably being that Finker, which wasn't a compromise that they made. It was the Knights maybe a little bit scared themselves taking that off the board, but it really didn't impact their playstyle. Their drone clearance was amazing. Multiple players clutched up as well throughout, which was great to see, and they are rightfully number 1.
Speaking of Onigiri, let's get to our interview with the man himself. Firstly, congratulations, Onigiri, on the victory, taking out APAC South. The whole team here as well, showing and flexing their muscles and their might. Massive win against the Knights. Congratulations. I just have to ask, though, how's everyone feeling?
To be honest, we feel great because like, oh my god, I'm shocking right now because it's our first time that we secure the first place in APAC South. Yeah, and it's our first time that we win the first place.
Yeah, Onigiri, talk us through this match. You said yourself a couple of times this stage that you thought the Knights was going to be a difficult opponent. In the server tonight, did you feel that? Was it as hard of a game as you were expecting?
On the attack, yeah, we feel that they are strong opponents, but we defend. But I think our defense is better than them.
Certainly looks like it when you guys are running around with Pulse Shotgun and you with a Bandit Shotgun, M870, we're getting a 3K. You are insane, man. And I wanted to ask, I wanted to ask about yourself and your team. You have been playing Rainbow Six for so long, and a Thailand team has never been top 2 in APAC, let alone number 1. And you have a chance at taking on the winner of Cloud9 or Cyclops, whichever one of those teams. Both teams who you played a lot last year in APAC North, and both teams that you struggled against. Do you think it's possible that you could play a game against them and win and become the champions of APAC? Do you think that's possible? And what would it mean to be the first Thailand team to do that?
I think it's possible if we prepare ourselves enough. And they are our rival, and yeah. I think we can beat them. We back in APAC North, we beat Cloud9, we beat Cyclops. I think we can beat them again.
I definitely think you can beat them as well, mate. And looking forward to more than anything, especially representing APAC South. Any final shout-outs that you want to give before we let you go?
Thank you for supporting us, and we will do our best against Cloud9 or Cyclops and take that first place.
Awesome work. Best of luck.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Representing APAC South, wholesome. You can't help but love Onigiri and, of course, Elevate in the way that they are playing right now, especially taking this form dev going into that stage champion, whatever, I think it's called stage champion. I guess that works in that matchup against APAC North. And obviously for us here at APAC South, we'll have some bias. We're going to be backing them all the way.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Just going to point out something that old mate Manic has pointed out in the chat. You call him mate, and then he calls you sir. I just love that dynamic that you guys have going on. But Onigiri is such a character, so passionate, and I know that he's going to take that passion straight into that stage championship game against Cloud9 or Cyclops, whichever one it is. And like you heard it from the man himself, like he's confident. He has beaten Cyclops before. They have beaten Cloud9 before. They know they can do it. They've just got to rock up and prove it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's set the expectation probably better than any of us on the desk could. He's beaten them, or his team has beaten Cyclops and Cloud9 previously. But again, that is history. That means absolutely nothing. It'll come down to that championship match, and I am sure whoever they face, man, it is going to be an absolute banger.
It's going to be a tantalizing match to watch. We've got another tantalizing match, though, coming up after the break. 7th Heaven versus Q confirmed. The winner will go to the playoffs.